Hey everybody, I'm alcoholic, named Stacy Cook. It is a privilege to be here. I thought he was going to tell my story. I'm like, well, he's going to do a better job than me. Man, it is really, it really is an honor and a privilege, and I want to thank Wallace for asking me to come and share my experience with y'all. There's several of you that I've known over the years, and it's good to be. I haven't been back here in a real long time, so it's really, really nice to be here. And one of the things that I learned the very, very beginning of my recovery is that you never, ever have to be alone again unless you talk too long. So I got my clock right here. We'll make sure we'll be out of here, so don't worry. So I got my clock here. If you see me looking down, that's what I'm looking at. But gosh, y'all, that brought back memories, him talking about Angola. And when I moved to Louisiana, I couldn't believe that they didn't have any meetings there. And I just could not believe it. After being here in North Carolina, we worked so hard at making sure that all of our facilities, we at least know about, we work real hard at making sure they have an opportunity to recover, right? And so I learned from the best here, and I knew what to do and how to start at the top and go and try to work with the administration and, work my way down. And it took me probably about 6 months. And I finally, after emails and letters and phone calls, and I finally got a meeting with the warden. And they told me they wanted me to do a full-blown PowerPoint presentation to what we wanted to do. And so, I told them, what we were about, what we were trying to do. They'd had AA there, certainly, but not, they hadn't had outside people for 20 years. And I just couldn't believe it. This is the biggest prison in North America. And there's almost 6,000 people there. And they had their own inmates running meetings, right? And that was still going on, but it wasn't really AA, right? They're giving out certificates, and they all graduate and such, right? We've seen that. But anyway, and I wasn't even going to talk about any of this, but I got to just say a couple things really quick, because it was life changing for me too. That experience, it was so life changing, and so it started that one meeting, and then a few months later they gave me the trustees first, which I appreciated, because I think it's like 98% of the whole population are lifers. And Louisiana is jacked up, y'all. Life means life. In Louisiana, you never go home. It's the only state that's under the old French Napoleon law. It's really a unique system. But they don't get out. They used to have, maybe 4 or 5 people a year that would ever get out. So I went from this camp to the next camp to the next camp, and I kept telling that warden, I said, I know it's hard to understand, but I really want to get to those people on death row. And I know that's hard to understand why we would want to do that, right? I said, but we really do care as much about those people as anybody else. And it took me probably, I don't even know, maybe another year or so, and they finally let me go on death row. Then we did exactly what Wallace said, and we went from cell to cell to cell to cell. And 2 inmates from trustees, they went with me, which was a blessing, because they introduced me. She's with us, kind of, like total mob kind of stuff, right? Like, she's with us, And but it broke the ice, right? And it would have probably taken me a whole nother year to get them to open up and, Now, some never did. They'd lay down, turn their back, they'd never talk to you. But it was rare. And then I got to have the first Louisiana State Corrections Conference inside the facility. We had 200 people, free people, come inside that, and oh my gosh, it changed those guys' lives. And there was also a small portion of women that were there. I had the women death row, and I had the troublemakers, because Louisiana, as y'all know, is under sea level, underwater. It floods. They're always flooding, so they sent a whole bunch of women to Angola. So I had those folks too, and so we had that. But the day before it was only a one-day event. And I got to bring people from all over the country. And I was so proud of AA. I was so proud. We really showed up and showed out. And those inmates couldn't believe it. And there was a couple of things that were life-changing. One is I said, if you've ever been to jail and are willing to help someone getting out, stand up. And, we all stood up, and they couldn't even believe it, that people actually really care. And then I said, if you live here, stand up. And they were all mingled in street clothes, right? They did the trustees, they don't wear, green or brown or anything. And people couldn't believe it. They were just all mingled in. And then Steve Mitchell, one of the best things that ever happened to him, I think, is what he said anyway, is a guy came up to him, and he's been in to this day 45 years. And he said, my gosh, thanks for coming. He said, for just a minute, I forgot where I was. He forgot he was locked up. I mean, that's what we bring, right? We bring freedom. We bring peace. And, if there's anybody that's new, we can have a life here that's beyond our wildest dreams. And that's what AA has to offer. And after that conference, y'all have heard Wallace talk, I'm sure. I'm just like him. I'm such a baby. I try not to be, but I can't help it. We just always cry. After that conference, we affected the guards. We had people on the administrative staff talking about wanting to go to AA. I mean, it was nuts. It was really, all right, Wallace. Is that God? That's what they said. That better be God, Colin. That's what they used to tell us. Okay. Anyway, so it was an amazing experience. After that conference, the impression that they were all the big wigs came to our conference and everything. I got to start to get the guys out of death row, out of the cells, into a meeting. And we started to what I know, the first meeting in the world in death row. Amazing experience. And anyway, so what I'm here for is to tell you a little bit of what I was like and what happened and what I'm like today. And I do live just outside of Charlotte. My home group is Primetime. And what a special invitation to come to be here with y'all on your anniversary, especially. And man, that's humbling to listen to the 600 plus years of recovery and 25 years. I mean, y'all are clearly doing something right, huh? And we see all the time. Okay, I'm about to get into an opinion. I'm going to try to put that aside. Y'all are just doing great. Y'all are really doing great. How about that? I prayed that if there's just somebody, at least one person, that's what I try to do when I talk. If there's just one person that I could say something to that would inspire or impact, that's what, if it's God's will, that's what I pray for. I pray to be honest, tell my own story. And he told me it's recorded now, and so now I got to. No lying, right? I was raised in a family where there wasn't a lot of. We didn't talk about our feelings. I didn't know how to process things, and even back up, even before that, I was adopted. So that was one of my biggest issues my whole life, is being adopted and feeling abandoned and rejected and all of that. And there's just nothing that you can tell a child if they're given away that, like the people who adopted me, who I certainly call my mom and my dad, they would tell me that I was a special child. I was a chosen child. And it was impossible for me to feel special or feel chosen, and I tried. I really tried, and I didn't. And I had that conscious separation that we hear about from my whole life that I can remember. feeling that I was separate from you. I was separate from any kind of power, and I have always felt like that. I don't remember ever feeling a part of. I was raised in a family. I mean, I'll just say that my parents today, they've been married almost, I think 50 years. 50 years, and I've never seen my parents even kiss. Ever. And that's the kind of household I was raised in. There was no emotions, didn't know how to process anything. We didn't apologize. I didn't know how to forgive. I was just wound up really tight, and by the time my earliest memories I can remember, I was really, I don't know how or why, but I was really concerned with the afterlife. I was really worried about where I was going to go, what was going to happen, and I wished over and over and over, I just wished I was never born. I wouldn't have to deal with this. I mean, I was really stressed out about it. And if I just wished I had just never been born, none of this would happen. And I can remember at 10 years old wanting to burn my house down. And that's the first indication that there's a problem, right? And I didn't want anybody to get hurt, but I thought of it all the time, of burning the house down. And I don't know if I just wanted to be noticed or attention or what that's about, but probably most of the time when I have these kinds of crazy thoughts, it's just drama. I'll never forget, my sponsor told me, "You're addicted to drama." And I said, "I beg your pardon, I most certainly am not." Like, I was offended to think that but you know what? I'm addicted to drama, and it's just it's what I'm used to, that chaos on the inside of me. And the thought that I would actually go look for it really kind of upset me when my sponsor pointed that out, that I would actually go look for some kind of disturbance, and she would always say, drop the rope, drop the rope, let go of it, and I'd have a hard time being able to even differentiate the true from the false, as our literature says, sober. But I ended up real young. I know I had liquor in the baby bottle, and I don't know how much that did or didn't affect me. But consciously, the first time I found beverage alcohol, I was probably about 12 years old, and there was my brother and my best friend across the street and his best friend, and we went down to the end of the road, and my first drink, I got my hands on a half a gallon of Everclear. I figured that would do the job, and I don't know where in the world did I even learn that or think I needed a half a gallon, of Everclear. And I just remember someone saying, it's like Kool-Aid. You can make it to like Kool-Aid and put fruit in it and stuff. So anyway, I don't know I have no idea how much I drank, but I know I got in trouble the first night. I also knew that I was going to do this as often as I could, as long as I could, until there was absolutely no more to drink. And that beverage alcohol did something for me. And it stopped all my mind, all of the rat racing. And, they say that the average human has like 64,000 thoughts a day or something like that. But if you're like me, we have like 4 thoughts 64,000 times, it's obsessive over, and it stopped all of that. And, I found that there's 2 things that treat alcoholism. One's alcohol, and the other is a program of recovery. And that's my experience. But anyway, I got in trouble from the very beginning. I drank alcoholically from the very, very beginning. I never had any social drinking experiences, and I was so, so terribly jealous of all, particularly of the women that had all those long years of drinking, and I didn't get it. I was really, really jealous, and I would hear women talk at the podium, and they'd say they'd go to work and come home and put their hair down and kick off the heels and have a glass of wine. And I thought, my Lord, that just sounds like ecstasy. I mean, that sounds so heavenly. And that wasn't me. I mean, I got the 5 o'clock vodka, which was $5.10 a fifth. Boone's Farm, Mad Dog 20, I mean, anything that I could get my hands on to to alter my perception. And by the time I was 14, I could have used this program, really that early. I was just what the literature talks about, how women can be far beyond recall within just a few years. And that was my experience. I ended up getting in trouble in school and getting kicked out of school and getting in all these fights, and just I was just a mess. I started stealing. Well, I had always been stealing. Let's just get back up that. So even when I was real little, like 5, 6, 7 years old, I'm stealing my dad's money. He was a poker player. He's still a poker player. And my perception was, sounds ridiculous, but if he won, the money was on top of the dresser. If he lost, the money was in the dresser. I don't know where I came up with that, but he was good. He actually put himself through college playing poker. So he won a lot, and I stole a lot of money, and I don't know what I thought I was going to buy, like 100 candy bars or something, I don't know, but I would just, I had it, and I stashed it, and I'd just save it, and then I ended up stealing out of the town drugstore, just like candy and stuff, like 9, 10. By the time I was 12, I stole my first car. I mean, it was just, and that was that drama that I was talking about, right? Just something going on all the time. And then by the time I'm 14, I'm getting kicked out of school. I'm starting 14, 15, 16. Just fast forward. I'm just really, I'm just altered every minute I can find. I am altered. And I'm a complete, total embarrassment to my family. I never remember considering anybody other than me. You know, I never considered what I was doing to my parents, or, you know, something simple like I'd steal my dad's car with all his keys at work. He can't even go to work. What's he going to do? That his 14-year-old stole his car? I mean, you know, I didn't even think, I never thought about anybody but myself. And, you know, I had to take a real hard look at that when I started to learn about the disease of alcoholism, ego, and self. And really, what does that mean? So I end up, I'm going to fast forward here. I talked too long about Angola, didn't I? By the time I was 17 and 18 and 19, I was homeless. How about that? Just like that. My parents had given me the option of going to treatment or leave. I'm like, treatment for what? You know, I didn't get it. And can you imagine, like, I didn't have plan B. I didn't know where I was going to go. I didn't even ever, I ended up getting kicked out of school because my car, not me, my car was impounded with all these hot firearms and all, because I was a hustler. I sold everything there is illegal to sell. I sold it. And I loved that stuff, drama. And I started to get underage drinking, public intoxication, trespassing, all these silly little charges that would get you in front of the judge, right? And I would, one time I pleaded, this was my one real embarrassing one, I pleaded guilty with an explanation. And I thought that was a real plea, you know, and I thought that they were going to listen. That judge did not listen to my explanation at all. And that was the end of that. And I'm like, God, I should have got an attorney. You know, I didn't even get an attorney. I'd represent myself. But anyway, just little things like that. But those years that I chose, like, who does that? Who chooses? I'm going to have no life, no future. I'm not even thinking about the future. Not even thinking about a real job. Everybody else is getting married, going to college, you know, starting their life. You know, and Tom Ivester says it best. He says that when everyone else's life was just starting, my life was over. You know, it was like over. And now here I'm homicidal and suicidal, and I'm just a wreck, just a complete disaster. And I end up in an institution in Louisiana, and I was there for almost a year, and I got out, and the first thing I did was went to a meeting, went to an AA meeting. And I remember like it was yesterday, it was just completely packed. I had to sit on the floor. That's how many people were there. Wasn't even chairs available. And I just cried. I didn't know what I was going to do or where I was going to go. And this lady, Donna B., to this day is what I believe one of the best examples of Alcoholics Anonymous there is. She took me in. She didn't know me from Adam, right? And she took me in, and in no time at all, all of a sudden I'm big sister to her little daughter Nicole, and it was a real AA house. I mean, she put me on the central office or intergroups. It's called central office in Louisiana. List where they'd call, and we got real 12-step calls, back then, and people would call, and we would go, and I just loved it. And for some reason, I don't know why, but I liked the old homeless men, the ones that won't take a bath, they don't have a place to live, they're and I just wanted to help them, and I remember this one guy that he called the AA hotline, so that's how I met him, and so we went over, and I'm thinking, gosh, I really feel sorry for this person. And this ended up being a pattern, feeling sorry for people, rescuing them, taking them in, so I've been down on. So I stole a lounge chair from an apartment complex, put him behind my house, gave him cheese and mustard sandwiches and lemonade, and he was like, this is the Hilton, and he loved it, and he was out there for a couple of weeks, and then before I know it, he's got a buddy, and he's got a little friend out there, and I'm just like, I'm just loved it, I'm just trying to help these two people, and then his buddy, he could catch a train like while it's going, kind of, that's practice, right? And he would go to Texas, and he'd always come back with jewelry and food stamps, and I'm thinking, where is he getting all this, and I'd take him to the pawn shop, we'd pawn his jewelry. I'm just crazy. Now, the big book doesn't say much about half of this, okay? But this is how I stayed sober those early years, right? I was just always busy in the middle of something. And that first week when I was out, Donna took me she's like, get in the car, we're going to a meeting, and she took me to the jail. I'm like, really? Are you serious? And you know how we are, they're going to keep me, or they're going to find something, all the silly fears that we go through, and but I loved it, and I knew that that's where I wanted my meetings to be, behind the walls, and so two little quick important things. I got to move on here. About 3 or 4 months, I don't even know how long I was at Donna's. I want to say maybe 90 days, and then I got my own little place. It was a little shack on the bayou. And it was a 2-bedroom, and I thought, well, I'll just rent out one of the bedrooms. Well, Bubba came to a meeting, and Bubba just got out of prison, and I thought, this is perfect. Bubba needs a place to live, So, and then Bubba worked offshore, which was even better, right? Get his money, and he's gone. So, I'm fast forwarding the story to like a year later. I met Bubba's brother, and then a year later, I have Amber, my daughter Amber. That's the fast track story. So, and Amber, she went to her first convention when she was 30 days old, and she was raised in Alcoholics Anonymous. And when she was, I was in Louisiana until I was 5 years sober, and then Amber was 1, and I moved back to North Carolina, and her dad and I didn't work out, and when she was 10. She was to my knowledge, she was the youngest member of Alateen in Charlotte, and she wanted to go. So Queen City, y'all might have heard of Queen City meeting in Charlotte. It's a real big old meeting. They have AA and Al-Anon and Alateen all the same night, Monday and Friday nights, and she would just go with me to the open meetings on Friday nights. And she's like, well, can I go? And I said, well, I don't know. Let's ask them. And I asked them, and they said, well, can she be quiet? And I'm like, yeah. So she started to join and started to go, and it was so cool. After a while, I asked her. I said, what y'all talking about in there? She said, Mama, I can't tell you what. What we're talking about. I'm like, she's really listening at 10 years old, you know, that she knew that. And then I keep on pestering her. And she told me one week, she said, well, I found out that I'm allowed to tell you that we talk about our happies and our crappies. And I thought, well, how cool is that? Because they're teaching her how to have feelings, how to process feelings, how to talk about your day, how to, you know, things that I didn't get when I was growing up, you know. So Bubba, he ended up, now he's Uncle Bubba, right? The one that got out right. So now he's Uncle Bubba. So when I moved back to North Carolina, then here comes Uncle Bubba. He's in and out of jail and treatment and detox and AA, and he came to North Carolina, and I took him to a bunch of meetings, and Amber's dad came too. They just lived like 30 minutes from us, and Uncle Bubba gets executed, murdered one night behind this disease, and man, and Amber got to go to Alateen and talk. She had her first crappy to talk about, you know, and I was so grateful for the program, that my family, you know, had a place to go. Wish I could talk about. I got to get moving here, y'all. But I wish I could talk more about all those nights that I'm like, what am I going to do when I run into these guys that killed Bubba in the prison system? How am I going to act? Am I really going to be a good member of AA? But made it through it. Made it through it with a lot of prayer. I heard when I got sober, I heard and I was taught a lot about service, and that's what I did. You know, I was involved in the group level and of course corrections. You know, every week I'd go to 2 to 3 prison meetings a week sometimes. You know, after quite a while, and really what I did not know. I beat myself up a lot about it, and I've really been able to get past that for the most part, almost always. But for a long time I wasn't, and it was really a challenge for me. But after a while, and life's good, and oh my gosh, I can't even tell y'all about everything that AA did for me. And I went back to school and got my GED. Then I went to community college and graduated from there. Went to the University of North Carolina, Charlotte, graduated from there. I mean, I went from nothing to 3 degrees. I mean, and it wasn't because I had illegal actions with my teachers, the administrative staff in my high school. It wasn't because I was that intelligent. It was because AA taught me to show up and be willing and teachable. And I believe anybody can graduate from college if you're willing to show up and you're teachable, and you try. And that's what I took everything I learned from AA to school with me, and I would take Amber with me. And we were poor, and we lived in the projects and government assisted living places, and I had food stamps and welfare and Medicaid, and I had, you know, all of that. And then I'll never forget the day I called up that lady and said, I no longer need y'all's assistance anymore. Thank you. And that was a big day for me. And today, I'm hesitant of saying this on a recorded thing here because I'd hate for somebody to get the wrong idea. But today, I'm a vice president of my corporation. How does that happen, right? How does that happen? I didn't even say it for a long time because I'm like, that's ridiculous that I have that title. Crazy that someone would hire me. Life got good. Life got big. This whole time, I'm really running the show. I'm really running the show in my own life. Slowly get away from AA, and y'all know what happens. At 20 years of sobriety, it made sense to pick up. At 20 years. And I blew my life up. You know, like you wouldn't believe I destroyed everything that AA had given me. Every relationship. I couldn't keep a job anymore. In a number of weeks, I'm back to illegal. I mean, I just spent all these years in all these jails and prisons around the country, and I'm back to illegal stuff. In weeks. I mean, my parents were devastated. Devastated. Caught 3 felonies in a short order. And I couldn't quit. I could not quit. I knew a new powerlessness, one that I had not really known. It was a brand new powerlessness. And I just could not put it down. It took me 2 years, over 2 years, to get back. And the most impactful moment I had was remembering Wallace. Remembering Wallace's story. I don't know if you ever heard me even say this before, Wallace. But when he was in Central Prison, about to kill himself, and someone heard him cry out, "If you'll just get me back to AA. Please just get me back to AA and I'll try." And I did that same prayer. I prayed to Wallace's God, "If you'll please get me back to AA." And man, you talk about progression of the disease. I said this at the conference that when I first got sober the first time, we used to talk about calling long distance. Like, that was such a big deal. We'd get on the phone, call everybody we know. We'd have an $800 phone bill. You used to couldn't call across the street hardly without it costing money. You couldn't even call to the next town. I know that's hard to imagine, but you certainly couldn't call out of state without getting a phone bill. And this time, I decided one night, well, I guess, I don't know how I decided this, but I decided that I'd just send naked pictures to everybody. Everybody in AA, I'm sending people my naked pictures. And I'm like, I lost weight, Can y'all believe that? So I was mortified that I had done this, I sent them to people I hadn't talked to in 10 years. Can you believe they had to have thought I lost my mind? And so imagine the alcoholic ego when I'm trying to get sober again. I can't go to those meetings. I sent every one of those. I mean, oh my gosh, it was so bad. It was so bad. So I got an opportunity for a job opportunity in Louisiana, and I'm like, heck yes, I'll take it. Because I got to get out of North Carolina, and it took me 7 years to, and then we get on Zoom on the pandemic, and there some of them shows up. And I'm like, I had avoided y'all, and to my knowledge, I have made amends to everybody that happened to. So, anyway, that's the progression of the disease that I was talking about. But anyway, couple of things here. We've got 15 minutes. Well, cut me off. I told y'all that I was adopted. My daughter, Amber, she wanted to know, she's got a real interesting look, especially, how we are. We might have brown hair, blonde hair, red hair, and people always ask her, where are you from? Some people think she's Spanish. Some people think that she's got Asian in her. Anyway, and we don't know from my side, right? And so I did the 23andMe and Ancestry.com, and I found my mom. And I had been, this has been my biggest deal all of life, right? Everything on every 4-step I ever did goes back to not being good enough, less than, right? Everything goes back to that for me. And I found my mom, and she was 45 miles from me my whole life. And she was living in Myrtle Beach at the time. I was still in Louisiana, and I just moved back last year from Louisiana to North Carolina. And I was talked to her for probably about 2 weeks, and man, I'm talking about every talk about anxiety and every single feeling I ever felt all my life, all at one time. It was intense. And they started to say, I wish you could have got to meet Robin. And I'm like, well, tell me about Robin. So Robin would have been my aunt who died of cancer. And then then I find out my grandmother died of cancer. My grandmother's sisters died of cancer. I mean, it's just, I got some bad cancer genes. And, but I look young, right? So I got the good, okay. So anyway, I go and I get tested. I'd never even heard of BRCA. It's a cancer gene. And I go and get tested for that, and I come back positive with this cancer gene. And what that means is I have a 64% chance of ovarian cancer and an 87% chance of breast cancer, and I've got pancreatic cancer. All just terrible news, and so especially that 87% breast cancer. I mean, someone tells you got 13% chance to live. I mean, that's not good, right? You know, and I had a new relationship with all those people on death row. You know, because I'm like, this is what a death sentence feels like, you know. And I move back home, and I'm going to go meet my mom for the very first time because I don't know who my dad is. And she said she didn't know. And I'm like, well, I understand it was the 70s. If it's an orgy or a one night stand, I mean, I can take it, you know, tell me, you know. And she's just said she couldn't remember. And I'm thinking, now her husband that she married, he didn't want anything to do with me at all. And I didn't blame him. I mean, I just show up out of nowhere, right? But, so I'm going to visit her for the very first time. And I just really felt like she would tell me who my dad is face to face, you know. And it had been 60 days since we had first connected. And I'm on my way. And about 15 minutes before I get there, are y'all going to believe she died of cancer? Wow. And I never did get to. Well, I still went, and the first time I ever got to see my mom, she was dead, and she was covered up on a sheet, and I didn't know what to do, y'all. I was hysterical. And there was a chair over here, and there was a pillow in the chair, and I just grabbed it and threw it on the floor like this and hit my knees. And I just prayed, or I tried to pray. I was so a mess, I couldn't even hardly pray, you know. And I just said, God, I know that I could feel her legs. I was towards the end of the bed. I could feel her legs with my hands, and I just said, I know this is real. This experience is real. And it really felt like some closure to me a little bit later. But there's a promise that talks about being able to meet calamity with serenity. And I thought, well, that's what this is all about, you know, that I don't have to drink over something like this, that I can get through this, and I can feel closer to my Creator. And I can see, and then since then, I've had to have a hysterectomy, a double mastectomy. I've had all these health problems, right? But right now, I'm fine. I'm fine. And I only had that 60 days where I could meet. I mean, can you imagine? I had that little window to find out. And now my poor daughter, is also has cancer genes. And I have a granddaughter because it's hereditary. You know, don't know about my granddaughter, who is my heart. I just adore her. But we learn that we can get through anything in this program, you know. And oh my gosh, can I tell y'all the literally hundreds of inmates that were praying for me and calling me and sending me letters and prayers, and it was amazing. It was really amazing. And before surgeries, after surgeries, it was just something else. You know, just a few minutes, I just want to talk about something that I really missed that was significant in that first recovery, that first 20 years. August 14th, 2013 is my sobriety date today. And when I was about 4 years sober, I suppose, I'm doing the same thing. I'm going to 12 million thousand prison meetings. I'm sponsoring half of Louisiana. I'm doing, all the stuff that we do, right? And I'm busy. And I'm finding myself in the 911 emergency room of Alcoholics Anonymous. And how does that happen, when someone that is so active and so busy? And I missed so much that first time about this power, about a power greater than me. And I missed that I never was able to understand or to even acknowledge or decipher the magnitude of the two powers. Me as a power and God as a power. Right? And if I can't, surrender is a disciplinary action. And I have to surrender between each thought. I thought that working the steps was almost like a homework assignment. Like you do it and it's over with and it's on my past life. And I don't know how I missed practicing principles and application in the day I'm in. I missed exactly what I'm up against. What am I up against? What is alcoholism? If just quitting drinking and doing service work as much as that is my bread and butter, if it's not enough for me. It's not enough for me. Because I have a mind and it says on 24, the problem centers in my mind. It centers in my mind. So I had to really understand alcoholism, ego, and self. And I had to understand about how I have a self-talking mind. Self-talking. Talks to me in my own voice with great authority, and I believe it. And I had to learn that I'm still, not yesterday, today. I'm defiant. I'm immature. I feel like I'm omnipotent. I feel like the rules apply to everybody else but me. I can be all this stuff today and the day I'm in. And I came to AA. It's like I'd get out of the car and put my AA face on and want everybody to think everything's good because I had been sober for X amount of time. And I have to tell y'all that's not my experience today. That I'm so happy when I see people pick up chips and such, but I can be the same person sober as I was drunk, just not drinking. I can be that person today. So I have spent the last 3 years in particular really studying myself, studying how, when it talks about in step 4, where it says that I'm almost done, y'all. And it says, and I don't have my glasses on. Okay, I'm just going to paraphrase. It talks about, that we have to figure out, how does the disease manifest in my life? How does it manifest? How does it come out? It comes out in lots of different ways for me. And I've had to really, really get down to causes and conditions, things that I missed the first time. And not to think, like my prayer before I walked in the door is, God, please help me set aside everything I think I know for an open mind and a new experience, because I cannot rely on yesterday. Yesterday got me drunk. That today I have to treat my disease today. And I have never been more clear on, I'll give you an example of how subtle this is and how this happens in my life. Is one of my girlfriends from Texas called and she's like, I can't quit smoking cigarettes. And I'm like, I really want to quit sugar. I need to quit sugar. And so we decide we're going to pray. It's been almost 2 months since I had honey sugar, and almost 2 months now. And so we're praying and have this little ritual every morning and everything. And I'm on my knees. She's on the phone on her knees, and she's praying. And in prayer, I decide, well, maybe I should just start smoking cigarettes. You see, it's so crazy. It's subtle. It comes at me from all different areas. So today, I know that I need this program as much as I ever did. I need so much human help. I need y'all. And of course I need God. But I hope that I never think that this won't happen to me again, or I did this, or I've been there, or I've worked that step, or none of that matters. If you're like me, if you're a real alcoholic, it doesn't matter how long I've been sober or not been sober. It's about what I'm doing today. And my peace of mind, not that drama, that my peace of mind is my greatest asset today. My peace of mind. Because I'm somebody that I'll want to kill myself. Like, that's the kind of person I am, you know? And I don't want to live like that. I don't want to be depressed. I don't want to have any of that stuff. Bill Wilson wrote an article in the Grapevine. He was 22 years sober. He's about to kill himself. 22 years sober. Bill Wilson, you know. I'm going to sit down and just say this. You know, when I said at the beginning how we can have a life beyond our wildest dreams, right? I had somebody ask me, well, what does that look like to you? And I said, I can't help it. I'm rich. I want to be, you know, I'm going to be rich. I'm going to have 7 houses. And right behind that is I'm going to be skinny. And, you know, I'm going on and on about all these wonderful things that, you know, life beyond my. And she said, that's not what I asked you. She said, beyond your wildest dreams. What's beyond your wildest dreams? And today, what's beyond my wildest dreams is when I have those moments that I've only found for me, I'm the baby still growing, I've only found in meditation, is when I don't have any of those things. And I'm not missing them. And that my life is perfect. That God has made me, what's it say in the 12 and 12? That a group of principles, that a practice that as a way of life will expel the obsession to drink and enable the sufferer to be happily and usefully whole. I can be happily and usefully whole without anything on the outside. That I won't fool myself to think that anything on the outside is going to make me happy. Anything that can bring me a peace of mind and to be fulfilled. None of that comes from the outside. And I always look on the outside. I always think it's going to be this or that, or if I get the new car, or the new house, the new job, the new whatever it is. And the thing is when I get that, the target moves. And then it's something else. And if you live a life like that, you never get there. You never get there. So thank you again for having me. And thank you for allowing me to come and share with you. I love y'all.